What if I told you that a Nobel Prize-winning idea, one that explains pretty much everything from the smallest atoms to entire planets, is actually hidden inside a single, really complex sentence? Well, today, that's what we're going to do. We're going to unpack that one sentence and find the incredible, beautiful symmetry that's hiding in plain sight, right inside of chaos.
So, this is Giorgio Parisi. Back in 2021, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics, and it wasn't for inventing some new gadget or a flashy piece of tech. Nope. It was for finding a hidden rule that governs some of the absolute messiest, most chaotic systems in the entire universe. And he found it by looking where nobody else even thought to look.
And here it is. This is the official citation from the Nobel Committee. I know, it's a total mouthful. The interplay of disorder and fluctuations in physical systems. Right. But here's the thing. You should think of this not as an answer, but as a clue, a puzzle. And by the end of this explainer, these words, they're not just going to make sense, they're going to reveal something totally profound. This is the puzzle we're going to solve together.
So, here's our game plan for cracking this code. First, we'll break down the key terms. Then we'll see how they talk to each other. And finally, we'll get to the absolutely stunning scope of this whole idea, from the atomic scale all the way up to planets.
Okay, let's dive right into this Nobel Prize puzzle. Our very first step is to start breaking down the science that's packed into that super dense sentence.
All right, to really get what that citation is saying, we need to be crystal clear about two key forces, disorder and fluctuations. Now, they might sound kind of similar, but trust me, they describe two very, very different things. Okay, think of it like this. Disorder is the overall state of your messy room. Clothes on the floor, books piled up everywhere. It's the built-in complexity of the whole scene. Fluctuations, on the other hand, are the little random things happening inside that room, like a speck of dust dancing in a sunbeam or a curtain rustling just a tiny bit in the breeze. See the difference? One is the state, the other is the action.
So let's just focus on disorder for a second. In physics, this isn't about something being wrong or broken. Not at all. Disorder is just the natural baseline state of randomness you find in any complex system. Doesn't matter if it's a jar of marbles or the Earth's entire climate.
And then you have fluctuations. These are the tiny, seemingly random shifts and changes that are constantly rippling through that system. You can almost think of them as the universe's background hum, those little unpredictable jitters that are just always there.
So, okay, we've got a messy, disordered system, and we have these random fluctuations happening inside of it. Now, for decades, physicists basically treated these as two separate problems, but Parisi's huge breakthrough is seeing them as two sides of the same coin. He was the one who asked the big question, how do they actually interact with each other? And this right here, this process, reveals the whole breakthrough. You start with a state of total chaos, right? Now, inside that chaos, tiny random changes are always happening. But here's the magic. It turns out that chaos itself actually limits the fluctuations. It kind of forces them into a hidden pattern, a secret rule that you can only see when you look at both things at the exact same time.
It's almost like the disorder and the fluctuations are in this constant conversation. The state of this system tells the fluctuations how they're allowed to behave, and then the fluctuations, in turn, subtly change the system itself. By figuring out how to listen in on this conversation, Parisi basically discovered the system's hidden language.
Now, this is where the idea goes from being just a really clever insight to a fundamental law of nature. Because this interplay, this conversation between disorder and fluctuations, it isn't just happening in one little niche area of physics. Oh no, it is happening absolutely everywhere.
This is the truly universal scope of the discovery. The very same mathematical rules that describe how atoms behave in a simple piece of glass are the same rules that can help us predict long-term climate patterns on our planet. From the atomic all the way to the planetary, the same fundamental symmetry is at work. It's one rule for all scales. Just incredible.
So, let's do it. Let's put all the pieces of the puzzle together and finally solve our Nobel Prize mystery.
At the end of the day, this is the essence of it. Parisi gave us a kind of universal key. He showed that inside systems that look completely random and totally chaotic, there is a deep, elegant structure, a hidden symmetry. You just have to know how to look for it.
And that right there is the ultimate takeaway. That Nobel Prize citation wasn't just some dense, jargon-filled scientific statement. It was a poem about finding predictable, beautiful order in what just looks like pure, unfiltered chaos.
So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. If chaos itself has a hidden symmetry, what other patterns are we missing? Parisi's discovery shows us that the universe is way more ordered than it appears.
The real question now is, what other profound patterns are just hiding in plain sight, waiting for us to see them?